Yes, champions, welcome to the show. I am joined by the one and only Dom Felix.
Okay.
This man has a wealth of experience. He's from a proper fighting family, and not in a traveller sense. Him and his whole family have literally run boxing up around Northampton. I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, give everyone a little introduction of yourself. Tell me about who you are and how you got into boxing.
Yeah, I'm Don Felix, like Kieran just said. How did I get into boxing? I suppose I started kickboxing really. I was always a martial arts fan. My dad always used to sit us down and watch martial arts films. We kind of grew up in quite a alpha male environment in the sense that, I had two brothers and, obviously you do what brothers do and you fight and stuff. And we always used to love sort of like training, but we didn't even realise it because we were training specific to martial arts. Can't say I love running because I don't, but
Yeah.
I enjoy fitness, and it was just one of those things. And then competing kickboxing for many years, and then I started sort of like hanging around with a lot of boxers and really sort of paying an interest in boxing. And then I just transitioned to that. It was actually a friend of mine, Leonard Lovian, who was an ex-professional. He actually used to box out the Ingle stable, who really kind of motivated me. And like just by watching what he was doing, that he moved out of Northampton and he moved himself to Sheffield, and he was trained with the great Brendan Ingle. There was one point where I was going to go move up there, but didn't happen, whatever. But yeah, from there really, that's kind of how I got into boxing, I guess, if that sort of explains it. The main motivation was my daddy.
Yeah, nice. So, can you then share a bit about your journey from, say, your first fight, that build up to your first fight, to kind of where you are now? Because for anyone who doesn't know, Dom and I, we used to fight out the same professional stable.
Yeah,
So you've had amateurs as well, right?
yeah,
You've had a few amateur fights, you've done white collar,
yeah,
professional, and then recently just won another title back in the white collar scene, right?
yeah, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So again, an incredible journey, but yeah, just kind of run us through that.
Yeah, so the journey, like I say, it started with kickboxing, and I don't know how many fights I had kickboxing, but I had quite a few fights kickboxing, and then yeah, like I said, I was naturally going to just go straight to pro, but yeah, I'll just go straight pro, like I said, to move to Sheffield, and I went up there and I trained a little bit with Dominic Ingle, Brendan's son, and he was like, to be honest, you're probably better off having some amateur fights first, before just going straight pro, because obviously when you
How old were you at this time?
how old was I? Been in my 20s. Yeah, I would have been, I don't know, probably about 25 maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, 24, 25, something like that. And yeah, Dom said, yeah, you're better off having some amateur bouts. And obviously, like I said previously, the Sheffield thing never came off, so I never went there. And then I think I sort of like a couple of shows kind of got offered to me where it was the kind of white collar and licensing, whatever you want to call it. And I fought in a few shows up and down the country, and I'd be travelling, and I'd go to Newcastle and fight, or go to Bournemouth and fight, and that was fun, but there weren't really much structure to it. So then I kind of thought, actually, let me take it a little bit further, because I definitely won a lot more fights than I lost. So I thought, right, let me go amateur. So I started training at the Fitzroy Lodge gym, where David Hay used to box, and many other great fighters come out of Fitzroy Lodge in South London. Now, and I always had to work on those nights. Nick Carney, rest his soul, he could never match me, because it was like, can't trust matching you because I don't think you're in the gym enough. And I was a fit lad and that, but I always had to go and work Tuesday and Thursday, which were the training nights. And at weekends, I wasn't really around. And then I went to Dow Youth, and then Mickey Delaney, again, great guy. I was training there for a couple of months, and he was like, "All right, let's match her." And then I had a few fights with them, did all right, and I think I was sort of doing unlicensed and amateur same sort of time, and then I was doing the amateur thing, and then a couple of unlicensed opportunities came up, like a couple of title fights and stuff. So I kind of went down that path, and then I went professional with like what Kieran said, with Barry O'Connell in State of Mind Gym, and then COVID hit. Then there was no fighting for none of us. I was on the verge. I was about to have a Southern Area title eliminator fight, and then obviously that got cancelled because of COVID. and I'd left it quite a few years and was trying to get my license back, and unfortunately they wouldn't grant it. So then that was that. I thought it was
Oh, really? I
over.
never knew that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't realize that.
yeah. That's why I never. That's why I went back on the white collar scene, because I thought, oh, that's it now. I'm not going to box again. And
Mm.
this show came up, Fight Zoom, a really good platform, and yeah, they offered me a fight, and I thought, "Do you know what, it's still in the belly. Let me have a bash. Came off well, came off victorious in that, and then they wanted to match me because they were like, look, obviously because of my professional background and stuff, my skill set was probably a bit high for the majority of the fighters in that league. So they were like, well, all we're going to do is we're going to find someone of equal standing, I suppose, and match you accordingly. So they created like a vets league, a vets sort of pro league. Well, I say pro league, I mean a vets professional vet league.
Yeah.
So if you're a professional
Like
in,
an kind of like an elite
yeah,
unlicensed.
yeah. So the guy I ended up fighting last time was actually someone who I used to go and watch. His name was Peter Irvine. He was quite big on the sort of cage rage scene, and he was a legitimate
Mm.
world champion in cage rage, and I don't know, probably had like 100 Thai boxing fights and stuff like that. And I remember when I sent him to my coach, and he was like, mate, he's as fit as a butcher's dog, so you've got to be fit. You know what, me and Pete still talk now. He's a really good guy, and we're the same age, both 44. Yeah, I mean, I won that fight and won the world title on the Vets League, so I'm a happy man.
Still got that fire in your belly? Can we be expecting more fights from yourself?
Do you know what, right?
I see that grin, by the way. I see that grin, and I know what that means.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's always in you, isn't it? It's always in you. But it just takes so much time.
Mm.
Just takes a lot of time, and I've put a lot into it. And after beating Peter in that last fight, to give him so much credit, he was kind of a catalyst for me to say that'll do me. 'Cause it was an
Yeah, yeah,
extremely
yeah.
hard fight. I worked extremely hard, trained for 3 months solid, and he was a tough man. And knowing that he was a legitimate world champion in his heyday, and me beating him has kind of put a lot of my demons to rest. So after the fight in the ring, you can see me saying, "That's it, I'm done. That's it, I'm done. That'll do me now." Like after I
Yeah.
kind of like got the victory and the belt and everything, I was like, "That'll do me." So I kind of knew. But then that being said, I saw an Instagram post the other day. He goes, "Yeah, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need X vet," and I'm like, "Hold on a minute." So they're basically the Fight Zoom team. They're doing a platform versus platform show now, which I said, look, I think
Nice.
had a chat about it, and I said, I think you should look at doing that. Because like, obviously Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn have recently
Yeah,
done that, and
yeah.
I just thought it was brilliant. The best feed the best. So instead, especially with the thing with the unlicensed white collar scene, they've got there's a lot less loyalty. Like if you're signed to Frank Warren, you can't just go and do what you want, because that's your manager, that's
Mm.
your promoter. That's the end of the conversation. You signed a 2 year, 3 year, whatever contract, 3 fight deal, whatever it is. Whereas on the unlicensed and white collar scene, you're never going to get that loyalty. Another rival promoter could just say, "Oh, I'll give you this," and then people will flitter between the two. So
I think it's also because a lot of those scenes, a lot of the promoters aren't very business minded,
yeah,
and they'll put on. They're not very consistent with their shows. They're not running it like a good quality business, and they're not trying to
yeah,
make the most of it. Whereas when you look at things like, say, Queensbury Boxing League, you had a set fight plan, so you could
yeah,
almost pick your fight dates a year out,
yeah,
and then you also knew that the events you were going to were very professionally
yeah,
run. They were all very, very good. People would go there, get dressed up, and it was so easy to sell tickets to because you
yeah.
had this fantastic table service, which almost made it harder to sell tickets as a pro because you're then going
It,
back to York Hall where people can't drink. You're like in a little town, a shitty town hall. It's
yeah,
yeah, it is difficult. But I also think that is one thing that's lacking from the white collar scene is the like you say there is if people actually start signing to promoters, but then those promoters start having a bit more opportunity for you to fight elsewhere. So as in like you say, like you're doing your 5v5s and stuff
yeah.
like that. I think that's a very good idea, and I think that's
Agreed.
definitely hopefully what will start coming of that scene.
Yeah, I think it can do. Definitely think
Maybe the
it's done.
Felix Fight Systems shows, mate. Maybe that's the next step, eh?
Yeah, yeah. We've been thinking about. I mean, we've got a few fighters, but we don't have. We don't have. I mean, from a business perspective, something that my old coach always used to say to me, my original sort of kickboxing coach, when I said, "Oh, you need to get more fighters in here," because I was a fighter and there was only like 8 to 10 of us, and then obviously it's weight dependent. And I said, "Oh, you need to get more fighters in here," and he said to me, and I never got it then. He was like, "Fighters don't pay the bills." And I'm
Yeah.
like, of course they do. That's what this is kickboxing gym. Of course they do. It's only now, well, not now, but I mean, it's only as I started to become more mature, let's say, I realised what he really meant. Fighters don't pay the bills. You know, the person who just wants to train 2, 3, 4 times a week and keep coming back for years is the person that pays the bills, not the guy who wants to be in the gym every single day, twice a day, sweating all over the floor, sweating all over the punch bags and all the
Because
rest
he's
of
got
it.
no money, because
They've got
he's
no
in the gym all
money.
the time. Yeah. It's the same as what we had with Baz, and Baz would always say that, and he's just
Yeah,
like, if you try and take me for a fool, and he's like, I can just replace you with PTs because I'll get five
yeah,
times the amount of money.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and it's true. So, also big shout out to Baz because he put up with a lot of shit of us lot. He
Good,
yeah, sacrificed a lot of time, effort, money,
good,
a lot for what he did with us. So
good.
yeah, big love to Baz, 100%.
Baz was brilliant. Yeah. When I look at those days, I mean, like, I'm not disrespecting any other gym that I've trained at, but like when I look at those days and I think how sort of blessed we really were, like, like you'd send out on a Sunday, you'd send out your sort of training slots and you'd have your like little window, 10, 20 minutes of pads and obviously all the other work you're going to do anyway, but it'd be like a dedicated round of, or dedicated time period where you're doing pads, you get one-to-one time with pads.
Mm.
There's a lot of trainers nowadays that don't really do that, not unless you're elite. But when you like, we were all on the come up. So the fact that he allocated that time to us, that was something special.
It's one of those things you don't realize how good you've got it until you look back. Because I was the same. I bumped into Brad Spencer the other like a
Yeah,
couple of weeks ago, and I was having a chat, and I was like, "Mate, what the just how awesome those days were! Like
best
we had
day.
such a good stable, and there were some killers in that
Yeah,
gym. Obviously,
best day.
your brother Dan,
Yeah,
Don, like the sparring we used to get as well was next level, and it's just always a good crack. It was always such a good vibe going into that gym. Like it was always the atmosphere and the energy in that gym was just contagious.
do you know what?
So
Now you
yeah, it
said
was
that, I want to
awesome.
give Baz an Instagram post in a bit because it was, mate. Like sometimes I've been looking through, I've been looking for an old picture or something, and as I scroll back to like 2018 and stuff, and I'm seeing all the old videos of us lot and pictures of us lot after sparring and all. I'm like, mate, those days were, because I'm sure it's the same for you. It's just one of those things that, even though you have to come to terms with it, it's one of those things that, from what I know of you, it's part of your identity. You spent a lot
Yeah.
of time training and preparing your body and mind for bouts, and yourself. You won a lot of titles on the unlicensed scene and stuff, and you knew what it was to put it in, and the same. And then when you put so much love and attention into a specific sport, and then as time goes on, you have to say goodbye in a certain way. It's emotional.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's why you see a lot of not even just fighters, but sports people, because it is your identity.
Mm,
That's why they struggle so much with mental health
yeah,
when they quote unquote retire. But let's talk about that actually. So let's talk about the kind of mindset behind fighting. I think that would be very useful to a lot of people listening to this. So, what would be your mental preparation for fights? How would you stay kind of quote unquote in the zone? What did you do with regard to, were you into like affirmations? Like, because there's so many different things you're told this was what you should do to optimize your mindset. Like, how did you stay just fired up and confident, I'd say?
I think the best thing for me was like being regimented. Like say I'm going to use my last two. I think my last two performances in terms of my camps were the best that I've ever been. Like, because I was very clear at that point. Because sometimes you take it for granted and think, oh, this lasts forever. But I was very clear that this doesn't last forever. And then the last two training camps, you don't get me missing a session. You're just not going to catch me missing a session. So mentally, I know I'm going to do all the work that needs to be done. Because here's the thing: if you've got a fight on was it today? It's the 2nd of September. If you've got a fight on enough time, the 12th of December, you know there's a certain amount of time that you can train because there's only so many hours in that block. Even though it's away in December, it's only a certain amount of time. So if you know I'm never missing a session, obviously, yeah, people get ill, but we're not planning for that. We're just planning to get the work done that we need to get done. All right. And if you do that, I believe that sort of because you know you've done the work. Another thing, back to what you said about affirmations, I'll make sure that I always put I'm always good nutrition. When I say good nutrition, I don't necessarily just mean food. I mean my diet in the context of what I'm reading, what I'm doing, the people I'm hanging around with, the place I'm going, the time I'm going to bed, and just really in myself in an elite place. Because it's easy to do anything, but it's very difficult to do the right thing. So, in terms of things I'll listen to podcasts, I'll listen to motivational speeches, I'll put all that in. Sometimes I'll be out on a run and it will just be like winning. It'll just be a conversation around winning. So then it's just constantly, because if you are around anything, eventually that thing can ingest that thing. So if you're around something negative, then eventually it's probably going to get inside you. If you're around something positive, then eventually it's going to get inside of you. So I just fill up my space with positivity, if that rounds it
Mate,
up.
that's one thing I always use. So when I do my longer runs, I would have my headphones in, and on Spotify you've got motivational speeches, and
Yeah,
I would just
yeah,
be sitting there listening to motivational speeches and just fire myself up. Like just be jogging along, just almost like
yeah,
shadowboxing as I'm going, just almost just practicing in my head everything I've been working on in the gym. And I did
yeah,
find that was it's very confidence inspiring.
yeah.
Like when you're doing those things, you know when you're doing the right things.
Mm,
And especially when you walk down to the ring, like I used to be quite neurotic about like my diet and all these sorts of things. And it was one of those like when you walk down to the ring, you know that you've done everything right and you haven't been skipping training sessions, you
yeah,
haven't been drinking, you haven't been doing all these things. That just gives you this ridiculous level of confidence because you're like, he
yeah,
can't beat me because he's not done what I've done.
yeah. Exactly. And we're going to go a step further. Even if he has done what you've done, I don't care because I'm mentally. 'Cause the thing is, my dad always used to say to me, "Belief is like sometimes I'd be nice to people in sparring." And he's like, "Son,
Mm,
no, you never give people the belief. Belief is a dangerous thing." So back to what you just said, if you've done the work and you believe you can't beat me, that's probably what's going to happen because you've done the work. It doesn't matter what he's done. Like there's two trailer thoughts I always used to adopt throughout camp. I've always sort of lived by it. I call it what I call the Mayweather approach and Andre Ward approach or the Ward approach. They're two conflicting variations of how to get the same job done. Now let's just look at the facts. They're both undefeated. They're both multi-weight world champions. So they've got enough credentials to look at their principles and combine the two instead of just choosing one. Combine the two and see what works for you. So Mayweather never used to know nothing. He didn't used to know anything about anyone he fought. He never used to watch videotapes. He used to just focus on himself. And that's a brilliant thing. It's a brilliant thing because you're just focusing on you. I'm the best. I'm the only. I'm not sitting here watching someone else. I'm watching myself. Andre Ward, on the other hand, he knew everything about his opponent. He used to know
mm,
everything. So for me, I used to do is I'd try and steal both. So I want to know everything I need to know about you, but I'm also at the same time focused on myself. So if there's 24 hours in a day, I'm pretty much in control of what I do with that 24 hours. So if I'm in a situation where there's not really much going on, I can actually go and have a look at my opponent, see what he does, see what he likes, like I don't know. Irvine, for instance, I'd read blogs that he'd put up on like when he'd been interviewed when he was world champion. I'd be reading blogs and everything because I wanted to get into the mind of him. And then I got into his mind, so I knew I was going to be facing. And lo and behold, when I got into that ring, I faced exactly that. and there wasn't any surprise. The only surprise is he looked flipping twice as he looked twice as size of me when I got in the ring. And I'm thinking, when we weighed in, you didn't look that big. His mentality, I knew you were going to bring that, but at the same
Yeah.
time, my training camp, I was focused on me. I wasn't thinking about him when I'm in camp, but just when I got 5-10 minutes, I'll sit and I might watch a little video. So yeah, I just believe that, like what you said, your mindset is so important. What like something that Tunde Ajayi used to say to me, it's 100% mental. Ironically speaking of Tunde, Anthony Yard is exactly the Mayweather method. Anthony Yard doesn't know anything about his opponent. Generally just does his thing. Whereas Buatsi, on the other hand, he knows pretty much everything about his opponent. They're both geeks, but Buatsi is a different type of geek about it. He knows
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never heard it broken down and put in that way, and that's very, yeah, I think that's very insightful for a lot of people. So, because it's quite funny. So I discussed this on the last podcast, kind of talking about pre-fight rituals, and that just explains and backs up what I said, is that everyone's very unique. So you have to kind of find what works best for you and lean into that, because again,
That
some things work for some people, other things work for others. And again, gives it something a try so it works. Because I was the same. I never really used to focus on anyone else. I'd watch a few of the videos just to see if I could pick up on common like telltale signs that they do,
yeah,
particular combinations they like to throw, how they do like through their jab, things like that.
yeah,
But then I'd probably watch one or two videos and I'd just sack off. I'd be like, just focus on my fight. Obviously, I'd like to see what style of fighter they were, as in, are they more in the pocket? Are they more like slip boxer?
yeah.
But then apart from that, no, it wasn't. I
Focus
didn't
on
really
you.
see much. Yeah, 'cause again, it's each of their own.
Yeah,
And you kind of mentioned there about like the almost like say like nutrition. You're talking about what you're consuming with regards to with your mindset. What about your diet? So
you know
what
what?
was what's your actual diet like in training camp?
Do you know what? My diet's good. Do you know actually someone who I used to learn a lot from in the context of nutrition? Ironically, it was you. There's many things,
Yeah,
little giveaways. I know you're hot on your diet, and the weight that you boxed at, you're actually quite big. I always admired you for that, and I always remember certain things you'd say. Sometimes we, at the end of the session, then you'd say to me, about veg or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, okay, because giving you a lot of credit. I like that you pay attention to it. Like today,
yeah,
we've got a lot of trainers that are just trainers. Do you know what I mean? They don't really know anything. Whereas, when I show up and like I help train pros now. When I show up and helping these, padding the pros and giving them little techniques, and I know that, obviously I'm older than a lot of them, but I also know that they respect it, and it makes me happy.
yeah,
But I also know that they respect me because they know I'm an athlete, like still, like I can still me now. I don't know. Dan Aziz rang me and he's like, "Yeah, I need rounds. So I've got a southpaw." It wouldn't be out of my depth to be like, "Okay, cool, yeah, Friday, just give me a couple of days, just go for a couple of jogs, and yeah, bosh." Do you know what I mean?
You were that guy. I swear. Every time I look on Insta, always trying to find sparring, or always just traveling
Yeah,
the bloody UK, going for sparring.
yeah.
Yeah, it's mad. The amount of miles you clock up to go and fight
No,
someone, that is
no.
what I call passion.
But do you know what? All those people now are some of my best friends. Like, as in, like,
Yeah,
like Lennox Clark. Lennox Clark was an ex-British middleweight champion. Zach Kelly, we had some beautiful rounds. He was the last British champion until he lost to Callum Simpson the other day. And it's like, it's not just it's not the sparring. It's the stuff you get out, because once you fight someone, you got each other's respect. Do you know what I mean? You've always got
yeah,
their respect. It's like, nah, even if you beat them up, you're like, nah, we've shared something, because it's special. So like for your white collar guys, it's, don't shy away. What I notice a lot of time is, for the entry level kind of white collar guys, sparring is the last thing they want to do. If you prepare your body, and if your coach is matching you correctly, he's not going to put you in a situation that you can't handle. And unfortunately, you just have to get used to someone throwing punches at you. Let's be clear about what
Yeah.
the game is, you know?
100%. So they say you can't have a bath
Yeah.
without getting wet. So you got to take shots. But yeah. I guess I was the same. Hence, I remember coming when I was only a few fights in. The first proper time we met each other was came up to yours in Northampton,
Yeah.
didn't I? Did like
Yeah.
rounds with you, Nathan Leeson, all
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which looking at those pictures now, I look about 12.
I actually them pictures the other day. I was like, bloody hell, I see them like, I must have looked at that. Like I said, I've been scrolling recently trying to find things. I see some of those pictures
Yeah,
probably today.
madness.
But yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it's crazy. So how do you structure like in camp, how would you structure your training and how do you balance like strength and conditioning, like your road work, your boxing training, like how do you balance all of that?
So the thing is with Dom, I suppose similar to you, I'm always learning. I always like to learn. So generally speaking, my camps are never necessarily all the same.
Mm,
Like my last camp, I was the fittest I'd ever been, engine wise. Because if you remember what I said about Irvine originally, my coach said he's as fit as a butcher's dog. He didn't say he's as strong as an ox. He didn't say he's as fast as Usain Bolt. He said he's as fit as a butcher's dog. And that went straight in. So I was like, okay, cool. So I need to just be fitter. Yeah. So then my whole camp, if I'm honest, I neglected strength because that showed up in the ring. And remember, I said he
mm.
was twice the size and he was using it when
Because
he
he's very very short and very
yeah,
stocky.
yeah,
Like
he was
he
strong.
looked fucking mean, mate.
Yeah,
He looked
strong boy.
mean, didn't
He
he?
was strong. But the one that, like what we said about the mentality, there's certain things. So this is a little a trick for anyone that's watching that's new to the game. Never let them know you're tired. Do you know what I mean? Never let them know you're tired. So one of the things that I beat Peter on was psychology. So the first round, I won the first round. I outboxed in the first round, pick and move. Obviously, as you know, for those that don't, I'm quite tall. I'm 6'2" and got long levers, and boxing pretty
And
much.
a southpaw.
Yeah, southpaw, box like 12 stone. So it's like I'm a big guy for a relatively lightweight. And anyway, so the first round I went out, boxed, sat down, relaxed. Corner was relaxed. Second round I went out there. First little bit, doing my thing. Last sort of like 30 seconds, he started letting off. And instead of moving, I stayed by the ropes because I was like, right, I want to try and catch. I wanted to see if I could catch and counter. But he was very relentless. Remember, it was early in the fight. He was relentless. He's letting off all these shots. I'm like, okay, I'm catching. But I just couldn't counter. So I'm like, no, I can't counter because there's no break point. I can't find the gap. So I'm going to
Yeah.
just let him let off. Because what's going to happen is I know he's going to think he's got me. Yeah. And lo and behold, I'm pretty sure he did. He went ham. For want of a better word, he blew his load a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit of rope a dope on my part. There was two things. I
Mm.
wanted to figure out how hard you hit. Because once I know how hard you hit, I know what risks I can take. Yeah. And he hit hard enough to respect, but it wasn't hard enough to knock me out with one punch. Like I took a lot of punches, and it's kind of like obviously I can't guarantee anything, but I was pretty sure you ain't gonna stop me with one punch. You'll stop me with an accumulation, or I'm tired, but I ain't gonna get tired because I knew I wasn't gonna get tired because I knew I'd done the work. Sat down in the corner, didn't say anything to my dad. Dad got in the corner this time, not my other coach, and then my dad started telling me off. What are you doing? Can't believe yourself. Da, da, da. Obviously, he's my dad. He loves me. He wants me to win, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, Dad. I was fine. So it's like, no. I know once I switch on this round, he's not going to get that opportunity again. And he didn't, because all I did is when I stood up, going back to what I originally said about fit as a butcher's dog, when I stood up after that round, I made sure, because I knew my heart rate would be back at like 100 beats per minute. Yeah, I can perform easily off that. So I'm there, stand up, closed mouth. His mouth moving heavy. So I'm like, okay, I got you. So I knew then I got you. And after every round, I knew psychologically, I'm going to make you second guess yourself because I'm going to stand up and I'm purposely going to have my mouth closed. You're going to have it open. Every single round, he opened his mouth open. every single round. I stood up, ding, 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 round 4. I've closed.
Yeah.
And I saw it in his eyes. You see, because obviously you know this, Kieran. You see the truth. Like for me, I was saying this to myself: the boxing is such an honest place. The truth will always show itself. Do you know what I mean? What you've done and
Yeah.
what you've not done will show itself. So I mean, it was a long way around it. But the one thing that I did notice, if you remember, I said fit as a butcher's dog. Didn't say strong as ox. I neglected my strength. And I noticed that because I was so focused on I need to have a better engine than him. I need to be able to out punch him. I wanted to I wanted to Joe Kawasaki punch him, which to a degree I did, just not that magnitude because Joe's one of a kind. But I just knew that I could outwork you. And if I outwork you every
Yeah.
round, I win the fight. Yeah.
That's it's very interesting that you say that, because I talk about this and I've spoken about this in pretty much every single episode, and it's like the psychology of boxing.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
psychology of fighting, and that's one of my ones, is to always fight with a poker face, no matter if you've
Yeah.
been hurt, no matter if you're tired, no matter what. You never show your opponent anything again, because if you wince and you scurry away, that's like a one up. So
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
opponent, that's going to fire up his confidence. And again, like,
Absolutely.
confidence is key. And so this is like Pete Simon. That's one thing he always used to bang on about, was that psychology of boxing. And it'd be the same is, if I was ever in a really like hard fight, I would never sit down between rounds.
Yeah.
You go back, you sit there, and he's like, jump on the spot, have a bit of water, jump on the spot, make it out that you can just do this all day. And then you can see them look across, and you can
Yeah.
see it in their eyes, and they're like, fuck.
I
He's like, good to
used
go.
to do that. I remember. Well, I say I forgot. I remember you used to do that, but I forgot about
Yeah,
it.
never sit down between rounds, because then you just look at your opponent and they're like, I don't know if I can maintain this. And it's those, because that's that little niggling doubt. That's all you need to plant in your
Yeah.
opponent. And as soon as that goes, especially as they start getting more and more tired, it's just a very, very slippery slope down.
I remember like taking it back again. I remember when you came up sparring at our gym and you just did round upon round upon round. I was like, he's fit, isn't he? And I remember thinking, he's fit. And
You're
obviously
probably
he
fucking
didn't know
dying
each other.
inside.
Say again?
I
Again?
said I was probably dying inside.
Yeah.
And Pete would be like,
Well,
you will not show
yeah.
anything.
I remember I was like, he's a fit lad. I remember thinking, bloody hell. I mean, you were a fit, well, you still are, but I mean,
Yeah,
you definitely was a fit lad in the ring. That was actually part of your secret sauce, actually, because you were
yeah,
always fit. You were always fit. I mean, like
yeah. I
rounds
was
of
all
Curtis,
on
rounds of
it.
Ricky, you could do rounds upon rounds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually remember going. Gary Cochrane, he like fought for a
Yeah,
world title
yeah, I
before.
remember.
He came in for sparring once, and yeah, the Hellraiser is his moniker. I ended up doing like 11 rounds. I think I did 9 rounds with him. Ricky, not Rick, sorry. Brad was meant to jump in for a few. Brad did about 3 and then was just like, I can't do any more. And he's like, mate, can you get back in? Honestly, probably one of the best spars. We've got very similar styles. And you know, when you just leave. Yeah, fantastic. Going off that, you were always quite good with tickets and stuff, weren't you? So do you have any tips for people when it comes to selling tickets, or yeah, anything that can help people get tickets out? Because that's probably the biggest stressor, I think, for every single fighter.
Get in early is the most important thing. But for me, the most important thing is get in early. You can't wait and see it like a business. One of the best things that was ever said to me, see it like a business. So like when you release that poster or you put that post on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, everyone gravitates, like fucking, pardon my language, flies to shit. And like, yeah, Wiki, I'll be there. Don't just take take the gas and be like, yeah, look at all this. But as soon as that lands, even if it's 5 people, you could, like, all those 5 people, so they've all got to come with someone. Yeah, some people obviously come on their own, but genuinely, people want to go and watch boxing and they stood there all night on their own, unless they know a group of people. But the bottom line is, everyone knows someone. So if, like I said, there was 5 people, so instantly that, let's just be kind, that turns it to 8 people. So straight away, you've got an extra 3 people, because you might not even know the 3 people, but that person's their friend. They want to come. So get in early is definitely, because many a time I've put posts out or whatever, and everyone's like, I'm coming. 5,000 likes on that post. You're like, oh, brilliant. Yeah, everyone, the whole world's coming. You leave it. You wait for the tickets. Month might pass. Yeah, I'm fighting on 17th of. Oh, yeah, bro, I'm going to Japan now. Oh, yeah, I'd love to be there. I'm sorry, but good luck anyway. You're like, yeah, but you definitely said you were coming. Okay, never mind. Go to the next one. Yeah, you're right. Can you go? No, I've got a trip. I've actually got a flight to the sun. So we're going to see. You've heard it all. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, do it as a business. They've got to do it as a business. They've got to be structured. You need to write all that. You just need to be calculated because otherwise, the best ever ones I ever did was with my girlfriend when she just kept the book, and I was like, right, and she's like, right, what about this person? You message them, you message them early, you get the money off them as quickly as possible. As soon as you get the ticket out to them, but you just take that money. Oh, I'll get that money off, just because obviously, I don't want to be harassing your clock, and you make it like you're doing them a favor, but the reality is they're doing you a favor because 90, as you know, Kieran, 99% of people that come to watch boxing don't really care about it. They care about you. So my second thing is just be a good person. You're a good person. People want to support you, right? People that for me, that's why I always was okay with tickets. I like to think I'm a good person. I like to be good to people. I like to be there for people as much as possible. It takes time, but comes back in the long run. And my third thing is consistency. Just keep putting it in their mind, just like an Apple product. Apple don't advertise once and leave it there. They're not going to leave you to decide to buy it. They want you to buy it, just as you want them to buy the ticket. So, just like I say, business. It's a business. Get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very true. You want to get that locked in when motivation's high, and things are highest when you first put that poster out. And again, if your promotion don't do posters, make a poster. Learn how to use Canva, make a good poster, or even just something that you can put out on your socials rather than you just looking there like a bit of a mong. Create a good poster and just use that on socials, and use that because again that's just going to get everyone fired up. And I think, yeah, try and lock people in, even if you just take deposits or something, but just get people locked in to that. Because yeah, I think that definitely helps. And again, like also what you're saying there about your girlfriend, get someone else to do it, like your brother, your sister, your fucking nan, anyone. Find someone who is organised and who's friendly with all your friends, and get them just to take that stress off your shoulders, so that you don't have to worry too much about it and you can just train. Because yeah, that honestly make a massive difference. So final little question, I guess. Then, how do you feel that boxing has changed you as a person, both physically, mentally, spiritually? Yeah, how do you feel that boxing's changed you?
Boxing. I've got so much to thank boxing for, man. Because boxing has definitely helped shape who I am as a character. Um, it's helped me in so many ways. Absolutely adore the sport, love the sport. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't know what, I don't know. I can't imagine having not been around boxing, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm very privileged to have been around literally the best in the world. And, even when we look at Barry O'Connell, he trained world champions. It's just been an honour. It's just been an absolute honour and a blessing. And the thing with boxing, more specifically now, is I believe everything. Something my old mentor used to say. He said, "Boxing. You can use boxing for an analogy for anything, and you really can, because it really is. You really see yourself. What you do in training, what you don't do in training, how you treat your body, how you talk to yourself, all these things. Because back to what you were saying about the mindset and affirmations and stuff, how you talk to yourself is so important. And I think boxing's given me that, especially obviously a little bit too late. I wish it was there a bit more when I was pro, but the last two fights, the way that I treated myself, I was proud of myself because I deserved that. I deserved to treat it because whether we smoke a cigarette or we drink excessive amounts of beer at the weekend. Yeah, obviously in the moment it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling anyone not to drink. Probably be handy if you didn't smoke, but do you think? But you know, how are you treating yourself? Because your body's going to reward you more if you nourish it instead of punish it. And the reality is the hangovers and stuff. Oh God, that was a hangover. It's like your body's not really supposed to feel like that, bro. You're not supposed. You're not supposed. It's like, I don't know. Like my dad always used to say in preparation, you got to put the right things in your engine. Otherwise, it's the same as putting um, a diesel in a petrol engine. It's not going to go very far. Do you know what I mean? And you know, I think boxing showed me that, because even when I look at the last two camps and I realise how regimented it was, like I said, don't miss a session, putting the right things. When you're just in life, living life, you can kind of get away with doing anything. But boxing, like certain things like military, certain types of jobs, rugby, boxing, they force you to be kind to yourself. Because you look, if you don't do what's necessary in the army, people die, right? You don't do what's necessary on the rugby pitch, you let the team down. It's the indifferent than football. Rugby is a
Or you get injured as well, which is something, because again, if you don't appreciate your body, you don't give your body the fuel it needs, and then you're getting hit by some bloke who weighs 20 stone, something's got to give.
get injured, yeah. Mm, yeah. So then, with the audience, when you look at prepping for a fight, if you're eating the wrong foods and you're turning up looking a little bit slobby because you had burger and chips on the way in, so you mate, like when your friends and family who you've worked hard as a business to get them to sit down on their bums and watch you fight, what sort of performance do you want to give? Because I know I've lost fights and it's not a nice feeling. I've lost people I don't think I should have lost to. And at the same time, I remember like I boxed this guy and he beat me and he put me down in round six. I remember thinking, nah, I need to get up for my son. Do you know what I mean? So like, I owe that to my son to get up and keep fighting because I'm built better than that, you know. So, and I believe boxing has given me that kind of that mentality, and so it's a very unforgivable sport. It doesn't love you back, but you still love boxing.
Yeah, definitely. And then just because, like I said, you've got such a wealth of experience and knowledge in the boxing scene, for kind of white collar boxers who are, say, early in their career or mid career, do you have any kind of final kind of parting tips, just bits of advice that you'd say? Obviously, what you just said there was really, really useful and handy as well, about kind of loving yourself, and by loving yourself, I mean fueling yourself right, looking after yourself. But do you have any little tips or any take homes for anyone listening right now?
Enjoy the process. Cliche saying, but get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like the thing is with the white collar scene, indifferent to professional, because as a professional, you've like this is what I do. This is my job. Whereas white collar people sometimes they go to a show and they're like, yeah, I fancy doing that, and then they sign up for the 8 weeks of training or whatever, and then like every single time, Kieran, I shit you not, you'll have 60 people sign up, but you'll have 30 people that fight. Like literally, more time than not on the entry level white collar scene, people pull out and they say claim injuries, claim this, claim that. It's just the fear of the unknown is the reality, and this is why I say I think Rick. Do you remember Rick from State of Mind? The one actor. He always used to say to me when he was prepping for his fight, because if I weren't supposed to feel it, I won't feel it, Dom. This is what it is. He was just like he was having his first fight, and the whole way he went about it, I just admired, and I actually stole some of that for myself. I'm like, yeah, instead of overthinking it, just go through the process. Whether you win or you lose, like that fight I mentioned earlier when I lost, I learned more in that fight than any other fight. After that fight, I never lost again when I fought because I realised a few things. So for the audience, just stick with it. Just remember that. Just stick with it. Like again, like my coach, who I work with now, Kieran Conway's dad, James Conway says, just keep walking through the door. Just keep walking through that door. Yeah, and do what your coach says. If your coach says go for a run, do a run. If your coach says eat this, eat this. He's got your best interests at heart.
I think that's strong final words there, and that does kind of come around to something I was going to ask, which was like kind of overcoming challenging times, overcoming losses. Because it's one thing I always say to white collar fights: if you're having your first fight, always book in another, because what you will learn from your first fight to your second, whether you win or lose, is one thing. But I think a lot of people sign up to have their first fight, and it's just such a roller coaster of emotions. It's so taxing and stressful, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally, everything. So you're normally exhausted before you've even thrown a punch. Like on the walk down, you're normally gassed because you've just been in your head the whole time. So that's what I would say. Is like don't worry about like not necessarily win or lose. Obviously, you want to perform to the best that you can, but always book in another fight, because you will learn so much from that first fight. It's crazy. But yeah, feel free to retire on a high if you do win. But don't give up on yourself or feel bad if you do lose, because again it's such a wild journey, and as you say, boxing is very unforgiving.
Just to jump on that real quick, the guy who I lost to, um, he went on and he won his next two fights, I think, and then he got a Sky Sports deal, and then his Sky Sports debut he lost, and then you never see him again. You never see him in the ring again. Yeah, never boxed again. Yeah, Dwayne Sinclair never boxed again. But here's the thing: like in that camp when I was fighting him, I broke my nose in the camp. Now this was a little bit naive on me, and I didn't really know the game, and it's only my third professional fight. I should have really pulled out or postponed because it was a 10 round fight and it was the main event on the show. But because of who he was, I was like, nah, I don't want to pull out because he beat me before. And he beat me. Obviously, it's all excuses, but the people I trained with for the first fight, albeit the training was brilliant, they didn't do my corner. So like this is when I was unlicensed. I was training with Tunde Ajayi, who's Anthony Yard's coach, and as great as great as the training was, I was only going there and paying my PT money essentially for the training. But then he wasn't in my corner, so anything that we'd worked on, inspiring or whatever, I didn't know because you kind of, like I said earlier, listen to your coach. So then whatever my dad was saying was just fresh. I didn't train with my dad. It was a stupid error on my part. Second time I fought him, I was like, oh, I'm not pulling out because I'm beating him. But I broke my nose the second week of camp. I think I got first spar. So the whole of camp, I didn't spar. When I got to fight day, I couldn't figure out how I was going to win. It's like I'm not even sparred. Yeah, and obviously knowing what I know now, I would have postponed the fight or pulled out because my ego wouldn't let me. But I realised there's no place for that in the boxing ring. It's like you've got to do what you got to do. Um, but anyway, yeah, I didn't want to pull out because I knew that that's what he was. I knew when I beat you, you'll retire. I just knew that was his character. And lo and behold, he beat me, unfortunately, but went on another one or two fights, however many it was, and then he lost on Sky Sport. You never saw him again. You see me, I'm not bitter. Obviously, I'm annoyed about losing that fight, but I'm not bitter because I saw him that night. I was actually at the show when he lost. Went up, gave him a curl. I said, "Bro, don't worry, just stay back, stay on it." You know, but he never boxed again, and that's fine. Maybe I don't know. He could have got injured, whatever. But the reality is, for me, it's like, nah, that's your character. I always saw that. But anyway, that's me ranting and going on. But
It's actually funny you said that. I looked at his box rec the other day. I was having a little scat on box rec, and I was like, I wonder what he's doing with himself. And then yeah,
because they that was the worst thing I ever did. Because obviously the caliber of Tundi was very high, so I was like, oh, this is brilliant. I've got the best coach in the world, brilliant. But if he wasn't there on fight night, obviously he didn't even buy a ticket. Fair enough, he's busy. That's not important. But the fact of the matter is, the work whatever I'd done with him couldn't be called upon because my father didn't know what I'd done there. And then whatever my father was saying, it's like, well, I'm not really training with you for the last 3 months, so I don't know. But yeah, always stick with your coach, listen to your coach, just do what he says, and then you'll get the result.
nah. But again, like off the back of that, I think that is another good one. Listen to your coaches. Like anyone who is on this, I know a lot of people just bounce from this coach to that coach. So they're like, sometimes you will get the most out of it just staying with a coach for an extended period of time, because you learn about each other. He knows what you're like, yeah, you have to spend time with someone in order for them to bring out the best in you. So yeah, also any fighters listen to this, don't just be going around to millions of different gyms all the time. By all means, do that for sparring, but make sure that you have your one sole coach that is training you through what you're doing. And again, don't give up just because you lose a fight. We all lose. We've all lost. Yeah, yeah. Again, whether you reckon you should, you shouldn't. Either way, it doesn't matter. But as you said, then going into a quite emotional fight, which is, I guess, what you would say, because there was a lot of background between you and Hotshot, wasn't there? There's an awful lot of background to lose a fight like that. Obviously, we had a huge turnout. Again, a lot of people could get really down, as you say, but it's not your nature. So yeah, like that. Just don't give up just because. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. But mate, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for coming on. Where can people kind of find out more about you, your boot camps, if you offer anything like online? Yeah, where can people find out more about yourself?
So yeah, it's interesting you say we've got an online platform which is it's a bit different than what Kieran does. So hopefully it doesn't cross over. But it's Felix Fitness is the website, and we do sort of like home training and stuff like that, where you can download an app and train. And all of my stuff pretty much is on Instagram at Felix Fitness 1. So yeah, that's me. TikTok as well. I mean, with Dom Felix, but yeah.
I'll put all that stuff in the show notes. Dom, as always, mate, it's been a pleasure.
Kieran, you too, bro. Appreciate it.